In Indonesia, President Prabowo has made free school meals his flagship program, an ambitious bet on child's health. From what you saw in Jakarta, what are the opportunities and the risks if such massive effort isn't done well?
Well, to be frank, the key for nutrition is actually very early in life. To announce earlier this year that I will give all of my resources away in the next 20 years.
Orang suka melihat bahwa apa yang dilakukan oleh Bill Gates itu ada profit motif di belakangnya.
Hello.
Kesempatan eksklusif berbincang langsung dengannya. Banyak topik penting yang kami bahas, mulai dari program makan bergizi gratis hingga uji coba vaksin TBC di Indonesia. Tapi percakapan kami bermula dari angka kematian anak di dunia yang untuk pertama kalinya meningkat setelah 25 tahun.
By maintaining its generosity, we would save more than 13 million additional lives over the next 20 years.
Goalkeepers 2025 opens with your warning that humanity is at a crossroad. Why do you believe now is such a turning point for child survivor? And what is most at stake if leaders fail to act?
Well, the track record from the turn of the century until last year was pretty miraculous. Globally, we cut childhood deaths in half. Indonesia participated in that, did a great job adopting lots of new vaccines and has also seen those incredible improvements. Unfortunately, the aid to help the countries, particularly poorer than Indonesia is, those numbers are going down. And so for the first time in 25 years, we'll have more children die this year than died last year. And we'd like to see that generosity that we had, which was about 1% of the rich country budgets, we'd like to see that be maintained.
In your Time article, you call this a paradox. Funding for global health is shrinking, just as science is accelerating. So how do you convince governments and the public that this is actually the moment to invest, not to retreat?
Well, they should be very proud of how far we've come. And many people don't know the good news that this has been the greatest progress in reducing deaths ever. And with the innovation, we can do even better in the next 20 years. If the children had been dying in their neighborhood, they would know, they would care. And so helping them understand, even though it's far away, these are human beings. And, the golden rule about do unto others as you would do unto yourself, that applies here. The world is richer. In fact, you'd think as countries like India, Vietnam, and Indonesia have grown their own economies and largely become self-sufficient and are needing less aid, that then if the aid remains, that it's focused on the countries that are poor, which is just a few still in Asia and then quite a few in sub-Saharan Africa.
Sebenarnya, tadinya umat manusia mencatat kemajuan besar selama seperempat abad terakhir. Kematian anak turun separuhnya, jutaan nyawa terselamatkan. Indonesia pun ambil bagian dari itu dengan vaksinasi meluas dan layanan kesehatan yang makin merata.
In 1964, the year I was born, 1 in 7 Indonesian babies never made it to their first birthday. Today, infant mortality in Indonesia has fallen by almost 90%. Thank you. But I will assure you that almost is never enough.
Betul, angka kematian bayi di Indonesia pun menurun drastis. Tapi urusan gizi anak masih jadi tantangan. Dan kini perhatian publik tertuju pada satu kebijakan baru, sebuah program bernama Makan Bergizi Gratis. Ini janji politik paling populer dari Presiden Prabowo Subianto. MBG digadang-gadang jadi investasi besar untuk generasi muda karena menelan anggaran triliunan. Di balik semangatnya, muncul beragam pertanyaan. apakah desain dan penerapan program ini siap memastikan gizi yang cukup sekaligus berkualitas?
In Indonesia, President Prabowo has made free school meals his flagship program, an ambitious bet on child's health. From what you saw in Jakarta, what are the opportunities and the risks if such massive effort isn't done well?
Well, to be frank, the key for nutrition is actually very early in life. Making sure the mother is well fed even before she gets pregnant, and then during pregnancy, and then that first year. So with limited resources, that should absolutely be the priority.
Okay.
Once you get past those early years, you can't catch up if you haven't had the right things, and it's the impact is not to the same degree.
Jawaban Gates tegas, stunting tidak bisa dilawan dengan makan gratis di sekolah. Prioritas seharusnya dimulai sejak 1000 hari pertama dari masa kehamilan sampai anak berusia 2 tahun. Disinilah bermula perdebatannya. Apakah arah kebijakan dan alokasi anggaran kita sudah tepat sasaran?
Indonesia still has tough trade-offs to make in terms of healthcare spending, education spending. So hopefully, they can target things, and maintain their record of increased vaccination and supporting primary health care, because that's the very big impact is in that primary health care. And I really, appreciated I got a chance to talk to the president and, Minister Budi about, what we see as the priorities and how we can continue to help.
So what are the most critical steps you think? How can we prevent common pitfalls that you've seen elsewhere, such as food quality droppings, budgets running out, or rural children being left behind?
Well, running a data system that's tracking these things is very, very valuable. And if you adopt the new vaccines and you really take care of mothers well, that's where you get the very, very high payoff.
Okay.
We still see, some malnutrition, some anemia, and the country has a lot of variation from place to place, and so building that data system, I think, would be a very key thing. I mean, after all, the rich countries are spending $10,000 per person per year, and Indonesia is doing well, but it can't afford to do that. So it very much has to prioritize and not, pick all the things that as it gets richer, more and more of those things will be appropriate.
Jangan salah prioritas, itu pesan utamanya. Ini bagian dari perdebatan publik soal makan bergizi gratis yang menekankan bahwa kebijakan kesehatan bukan hanya soal niat baik, tapi soal ketepatan solusi. Karena memang ada banyak isu lain selain kekurangan gizi. Jika makan bergizi gratis menuai pro kontra di dapur kebijakan, maka perdebatan lain sedang berlangsung di laboratorium sains. Untuk pertama kalinya dalam lebih dari 50 tahun, dunia akhirnya mendekati penemuan vaksin baru untuk penyakit yang menewaskan 1 juta orang setiap tahunnya. Salah satu penyakit paling mematikan, tuberkulosis. Sebagian uji klinis vaksin ini berlangsung di Indonesia. Tapi seperti yang sudah-sudah, harapan besar ini juga datang bersama gelombang curiga.
Well, dying from TB is really an awful thing. And, it's an adult disease, so you're impoverishing the children, you're making the children orphans. And, for people who attack this TB vaccine, do they understand about TB? It's been over 50 years since we've had a new TB vaccine, and the science behind this is really fantastic.
Stasi komersial. TBC faktanya masih jadi penyakit negara miskin. Lebih dari 1 juta orang meninggal tiap tahun di dunia, 134.000 diantaranya berasal dari Indonesia. Bagi banyak keluarga, TBC bukan sekedar statistik, tapi kenyataan sehari-hari.
Tadi waktu saya wawancara dengan Bill Gates, saya juga sempat tanya soal vaksin TB, karena itu kan ramai di Indonesia. Ketika pertama kali diumumkan Presiden Prabowo, waktu itu mungkin bukan pertama, tapi ketika disampaikan banyak yang kemudian baru tahu kalau kita tuh jadi tempat untuk trial. Dan langsung ada banyak tudingan sana sini. Spesifik saya juga nanya soal konspirasi teori itu ke Bill Gates. Dari perspektif Pak Budi, apa sih orang yang sering sekali miskonsepsi ini soal trial TB ini, miskonsepsinya?
Tuberkulosis itu sama seperti COVID. Ini penyakit menular. Dan ini kematiannya setahun 134.000. Sudah puluhan tahun di Indonesia. Itu artinya kan 5 menit kita ngomong 2 yang meninggal di Indonesia. Dan semua penyakit menular sama seperti COVID. Kita tahu kan berhentinya kalau ada vaksinasi. Nah itu sebabnya TBC ini penting sekali ada vaksinasi ya. Kenapa selama ini vaksinnya tuh nggak ada-ada aja? Karena ini penyakit negara miskin. Jadi nggak ada orang negara maju meninggal karena TBC, makanya pendanaannya nggak pernah cukup.
Di media sosial, isu TBC berubah jadi ajang tudingan. Tuduhannya beraneka rupa. Ada yang bilang uji klinis membuat orang Indonesia jadi kelinci percobaan. Ada juga yang menyebut Gates Foundation hanya cari untung lewat vaksin-vaksin itu.
Nobody's going to make any money on this vaccine. It's purely to help the poorest. TB is very much a disease of the poorest. Even you look within Indonesia, who gets TB? It's not the rich people or people who start rumors. It's the poorest, and so it's sad, that you have sort of one group of people that isn't supporting what will be an incredible health intervention if it's successful.
Iya, tadi juga sempat di-mention. Tapi ya itu, yang orang sering salah persepsi apa sih yang kerap kali jadi bahan yang harus di-counter nih, disinformasinya soal itu?
Orang suka melihat bahwa apa yang dilakukan oleh Bill Gates itu ada profit motif di belakangnya. Padahal, ya Bang Nana kan udah interview dia ya. Orang ini punya kekayaan mungkin hampir 200 miliar dolar. Dia mau bagi semuanya juga. Kan nggak mungkin orang ini masih mencari keuntungan dari hal-hal seperti ini. Justru dia membagikan itu for humanity.
Obviously, this trial is regulated by, one of the top regulators in the world. The U.S. FDA looks at this trial and makes sure that the highest safety standards, and we, in order to succeed, we have to have a very dramatic effect of more than cutting in half the amount of TB that people get. Otherwise, it won't be worth it to buy this vaccine. And so we don't know if we'll be successful. In the phase 2, we had very good data, and people have signed up very enthusiastically. In fact, they signed up way faster than we expected because if you go into the slums, people remember TB. Whereas in the rich parts of the country, with elites, maybe they don't see much TB.
Semua proses dipastikan melalui standar tertinggi dan diawasi regulator dunia. Bagi Indonesia, partisipasi dalam riset ini bukan hanya soal ikut uji coba, tapi juga memastikan kemandirian.
Nadif melihat ini dan dia merasa ini harus bisa dihilangkan karena kematiannya di dunia 1 juta. Indonesia 150.000, di dunia itu 1 juta. Jadi semenit 2 yang meninggal.
Dan kita nomor 2 kan setelah India.
Nomor 2 setelah India. Itu sebabnya dia bilang vaksinasinya mesti didorong. Dan dulu Indonesia nggak masuk di trial 3. Padahal kalau kita masuk, kita bisa nyocokin vaksinnya itu pas nggak buat bakteri TBC yang ada di Indonesia. Yang kedua, kita bisa dapat secara lebih dini dan bisa dapat diskon. Sekaligus saya lobby agar bikinnya bisa di Bio Farma. Jadi Gates sekarang sudah datang ke Bio Farma untuk produksi vaksin TBC di Bio Farma.
If this trial succeed, what would be the next step globally? And how quickly can communities in high-burden countries could benefit from these vaccines?
Well, the foundation will make sure the vaccine is available at exactly the cost to manufacture the vaccine.
Okay.
That is, there's no for-profit, company. This is funded by mostly the Gates Foundation and another foundation called the Wellcome Trust. And we'll find, probably Biopharma could be a partner to do the actual manufacturing. It'll be a completely transparent, non-profit activity, and you will target the people who are most at risk.
Tak semua ancaman datang dari virus. Hari-hari ini ancaman juga muncul dari layar ini, dari pesan yang salah arah, dari teori konspirasi yang beredar lebih cepat dibanding fakta-fakta teruji. Saya mengikuti diskusi terbatas di New York bersama Mark Zusmans, CEO Gates Foundation. Misinformasi baginya salah satu sumber resiko terbesar kesehatan dunia.
The vaccine trials. But in Indonesia, it has faced criticism, even conspiracy theories on social media.
It's a tragic fact of the modern world that there is a lot of mis and disinformation, particularly around global health issues, everywhere. That it got exacerbated during the COVID crisis. And I think it's become a very important issue that is one of the biggest risk factors to global health going forward. I think it's then critically important for entities like the Gates Foundation that support this work, but also for government to be first fully transparent. That what feeds conspiracy theories is if there's a sense of something being hidden.
Apalagi kalau dia berkecimpung bersama-sama Bill Gates yang berada di belakang Gavi. Apa tujuannya? Ya tujuannya ya ini. Dia orang teknologi, orang IT, kenapa dia urusin vaksin? Ada kaitannya nggak dengan tubuh? Mau menempatkan teknologi atau software ke dalam tubuh, tapi dia mencari jalan masuknya.
Begitulah teori konspirasi. Sepintas bisa terdengar masuk akal, tapi tak pernah bisa dibuktikan. Indonesia katanya dijadikan kelinci percobaan. Peluncuran vaksin katanya bikin lonjakan angka autisme meningkat. Vaksin TBC katanya akan disebarkan lewat udara. Vaksin katanya bertujuan untuk mengendalikan populasi, dan katanya yang lain. Fenomena ini bukan hanya di Indonesia. Penelitian di Nigeria dan Afrika Selatan menunjukkan kelompok anti-vaksin sering menggunakan potongan ucapan tokoh global untuk dipelintir, membangun narasi baru, mulai dari depopulasi, dominasi barat, hingga ketakutan terhadap lembaga filantropi asing. Apalagi ini kadang-kadang didukung trauma sejarah kolonial dan ketimpangan ekonomi. Dari Jakarta sampai Johannesburg, dari New York sampai Nairobi, tantangannya sama. Memulihkan kepercayaan publik pada sains dan kemanusiaan. Karena teori konspirasi dan kecurigaan yang dibiarkan hidup bisa menelan korban lebih banyak dari penyakit itu sendiri. Ada satu fakta lain yang rasanya tidak banyak yang menyangka. Di balik pesatnya perkembangan medis, kecerdasan buatan, inovasi kesehatan, ternyata dukungan dana justru melambat. Padahal hanya butuh kurang dari 1% anggaran negara-negara kaya untuk menyelamatkan jutaan nyawa.
And it's my excitement over the possibilities here that drove me to announce earlier this year that I will give all of my resources away in the next 20 years.
Filantropi tidak bisa selamanya menopang dunia, bahkan menopang Indonesia. Puluhan tahun kita sudah jadi penerima bantuan kesehatan global. Kini saatnya negeri ini belajar berdiri sendiri, membangun sistem yang mandiri dan berkelanjutan. Apalagi jika mandiri itu bukan pilihan, tapi pertanda kedewasaan.
Anak punya anak. Kalau anaknya terus dikasih uang sampai dia umur 30-40 kan nggak mendidik anaknya dong. Dia harus dikasih tanggung jawab. Papa sama mama hanya kasih kamu sampai 25 ya. Habis gitu berhenti ya. Kamu mesti cari duit sendiri. Nah, saya juga bilang banyak negara berkembang itu attitude-nya dia tuh minta hibah terus. Ini yang harus berhenti. Kita harus punya rencana keuangan kesehatan masa depan. Jadi kayak Indonesia sekarang.
Kita rencana kita gimana?
Sekarang kita udah mulai pinjam.
Tapi memang kita harus pinjam ya. Kita nggak punya dari uang sendiri.
Itu ada tahapnya. Kalau saya bilang, kalau negaranya masih kayak negara miskin Amerika, Afrika, itu bolehlah hibah hidupnya. Hibah-hibah kayak anak kita masih kecil. Tapi begitu dia udah menganjak agak maju, dia harusnya kombinasi antara yang hibah, kasih gratis uangnya, dan minjem.
Kita sekarang di posisi mana nih? Berapa persen kita?
Sekarang hibahnya kita mungkin sekitar $1 miliar setiap 3 tahun. Minjemnya kita udah ada 4-5 miliar dolar. Nah, diharapkan nanti kemudian hibahnya berkurang, kita minjem aja, kemudian masukin uang sendiri, yang 30%, 40%. Sekarang kita ada uang sendiri sih, saya kan sekitar 4 miliar dolar juga uang sendiri. Tapi minjemnya masih sama dengan uang anggaran saya sendiri, 4 miliar dolar anggaran, 4 miliar dolar minjem, 1 miliar IPA. Nah mungkin nanti kalau kita jadi negara makin maju,
Komposisinya.
besar uang. Kalau ditanya kenapa sih mesti minjem? Karena ini masalah nyawa. Kita nggak usah minjem deh. Tapi nanti bikin vaksinnya 10 tahun. Kalau minjem kan bisa 2 tahun. Kan itu orang meninggal dulu 10 tahun. Jadi kenapa mesti minjem? Karena it save life, nggak bisa nunggu.
Beautiful. Thank you. I'm very, very honored.
President Prabowo honor you with the first-class Star of Service, Indonesia's highest decorations for foreign national. What does this recognition mean for you? And what opportunities do you see for deeper collaborations with Indonesia in advancing global health?
Well, the foundation appreciates the great relationship we've had with Indonesia. And, it's an amazing country that I've been lucky enough to visit a number of times, both for my work and for vacation as well. So, getting that honor is, it's fantastic. I'm very pleased and hope that, I can justify it not only with what we've already done, but with, even more collaboration with Indonesia.
For humanitarian work we've done, not only in Indonesia, but for the whole world, we value global citizenship. Global citizenship. Your service to humankind is...
Ya, dengan Bill Gates sangat positif. Beliau sangat besar perhatian kepada Indonesia. Banyak bantuannya luar biasa. Menteri Kesehatan mengatakan mungkin nilai langsung yang dibantu sudah sekitar 7 triliun ya. 7-8 triliun, tapi nilai yang lebih luas itu dampaknya kurang lebih 4-5 miliar dolar. Bantuan research, mencari benih-benih yang terbaik, obat-obatan, vaksin. Jadi dengan pertimbangan itulah saya memutuskan memberi tanda kehormatan.
So you see us as stepping into a larger role as a partner in global health?
Yeah, as countries get richer, they start to do some of the research. I know there's a work on not only health, but also agriculture.
Yep.
So Indonesia, for example, in bananas has some very important science that can help African countries that also depend very much on that crop, and there's been challenges with various diseases. And so, as Indonesia becomes an example, which it already is in many ways, we can help Indonesia spread those ideas. We've been a funder of biopharma because it's a fantastic vaccine manufacturer. One of the few outside of India, actually, that is both very low cost but also very high quality. So, I think there'll be some new opportunities come up, but already we have a lot of work in common.
Indonesia bukan lagi sebatas penerima bantuan. Kita sudah diakui sebagai produsen solusi global. Misalnya vaksin polio Bio Farma yang dipakai 900 juta orang di 42 negara. Atau riset pisang yang bisa menyelamatkan Afrika.
And we have to all of us have to draw in more people to advocate, to bear witness, to accelerate progress. Will we leave the best world for our children? The answer is entirely up to us.
We need a reset, a serious reset, empower people from the global south to create their own solutions.
Not to stop supporting humanity, because I said every time, for my motto as a human is, what are you living for if you cannot add value to lives?
The climate crisis is here and we really need to get acting today. We don't have any more time to